Hello, everyone. My name is Muzarowska. I'm a tax lawyer and I'm representing Dixcart Malta office. Today, I will start my presentation with the information about the Dixcart. I will tell you about our Malta office and our services, and then I will move on to Malta private foundations. So Dixcart Group has been providing corporate and professional services to international organizations, private families, and high net worth individuals for almost 50 years. We have 10 offices in 9 jurisdictions, and our international business services are designed to assist companies and individuals to manage their affairs, trade efficiency, and use tax-efficient structures. We work closely with professional intermediaries to complement and extend the services they offer to their clients. As I told you, we have 10 offices, and we are located in Cyprus, Guernsey, Isle of Man, Malta. In Portugal, we have 2 offices, one in Lisbon, one in Madeira. We have offices in South Africa, Switzerland, UK, and one office in Caribbean in St. Kitts and Nevis. We not only understand finance and business, we also understand families, which we believe to be very critical to the preservation of private wealth. And with increasing movement around the world of business people and wealthy individuals, either for commercial or personal reasons, there is an increased need for the provision of a base outside an individual's country of origin and outside his or her country of acquired residence to be able to coordinate the development of business interests. Dixcart can provide effective solutions. We can organize structures in appropriate tax-neutral locations, and we can also provide the services that may be required in various commercial jurisdictions to provide efficient and effective business support. As families' wealth become increasingly international nowadays, corporate entities often need to be established and managed in a number of countries throughout the world. And Dixcart review each particular situation with different international elements and recommends the most appropriate structure for the specific circumstances that are at the moment. Within our offices, we can help you with a number of matters, and amongst them registration of aircraft, ship and yachts, accounting and legal services, services of renting serviced offices, captive insurance, company incorporation and the management. We help businesses that are connected to digital currencies and fintech companies, e-gaming companies, family offices. We help with fund administration, holding companies, individual residence and domicile status, which includes citizenship by the investment, and relocation services for individuals. We also have help with intellectual property, IT services, trading companies, and this will be last but not least with trusts and foundations. So let me now tell you about Malta foundations. In 2007, Malta enacted specific legislation on foundations and later legislation on regulating taxation of such foundations, which further enhanced Malta as a jurisdiction for international private assets planning. Foundations have been described as a civil law alternative to trusts. So there are 3 types of foundations in Malta. The charitable foundations, which are public benefit foundations, and they exclusively promoting a social or public purpose on a non-profit making basis. They're private foundations, and they're established for the benefit of beneficiary or group of beneficiaries. And this is the type that we are interested the most. And the third type, there are purpose foundations. They're established for a specific purpose without beneficiaries, and they generally have a philanthropic nature, although they can be established for private purpose. So there are various benefits in setting up a private foundation in Malta, and I will go through each of them one by one, so you will be able to understand why it might be beneficial to set up a private foundation in Malta. I find this part very important because before setting up any structure, you would need to know the benefits of each. So I would start with confidentiality. Malta foundations offer the great level of confidentiality. The foundation deed states the foundation's name, its registered address, a description of initial endowment with which it was formed, and its purposes and objects. I will tell you later on, but all those objects and endowments, they can be amended on the later stages. Foundation may be used for asset protection. There are many examples that illustrate such cases. So, for example, if your home country is either not politically or economically stable, then you can set up a foundation overseas, transfer your asset to such foundation, and then you can separate your ownership of the assets from yourself. Asset protection function of foundations may also be effective against creditors, but a foundation cannot be used to avoid already existing debts, which means that you cannot transfer assets to the foundation after you already have debts. You should do it before potential debtors would have their claims. Maltese law foresees the use of foundations in the place of trusts as a suitable vehicle for the securitization of debts. Malta foundations are good tool for succession planning. The use of foundation may therefore afford a greater degree of privacy and flexibility than it may be possible with only will that you will establish. Foundations can be used to avoid the separation of the family estates and prevent disputes between the heirs later on. This is an interesting point, spendthrift beneficiaries. So foundations can be created to prevent reckless heirs from spending family wealth on the death of their parents by limiting their interest to income or to capital, at least until they would reach a certain age or until they fulfill some special certain requirements. So foundations can be drafted in such way that a beneficiary is alienated from interest if they declared bankrupt in order to protect the foundation from the attack of the creditors of the beneficiary already. Malta Private Foundation can be used as a solution for the care for persons with special needs and for minors. It can be used to make special provisions for beneficiaries who will be unable to take care of themselves after the death of the founder, and in situations where it may be appropriate that one heir should benefit more from the death of the founder, since they require a greater amount of the care with its associated cost. It can be related to some costly medical treatments and medical support, and etc. So basically, foundation can be also used as a tool to protect those who are in need the most. And lifestyle planning. Their partners who are not married, or their families whose arrangements are not straightforward, may find that some countries' legal systems provide adequate solutions for after their death or separation. So in such cases, specifically drafted foundation can be used to ensure that partners and children of such partners are treated as the founder of the foundation intends. I can give you here a couple of examples of foundation structures from experience. So I would name the first case. There is a foundation that was set up by the father, pater familia, who transferred some assets to the foundation and gave the instruction to the administrators to distribute those assets to his children, but only after they finish university. So the idea of this foundation and distribution was that the father wanted to motivate his children to gain some education and to gain some knowledge before they would have an access to the family wealth. There is, in the same time, another example which sounds similar but is a bit different. Similar situation, there is a father, has kids. He transfers some assets to the foundation that he would like to be distributed to his children, but the instruction is done in that way that his children would receive monthly stipend or monthly payments during their studies at high school, at the university. So this model provides you an example that foundation would be able to pay tuition fees, monthly stipend, and such situation wouldn't be interrupted by any family situation at any time. What is important to say that there is no ideal solution what instructions should be included or shouldn't be included in the foundation, because each situation is different and there are different ways to make the wealth structure. So the most important is to find the most suitable way to the person's needs and person's wishes to be able to take care of their loved ones. But let's look at the common features of the private foundations, which I will present to you now. So there is a private foundation which is founded by the founder, as name says it by itself, and founder can be any physical or legal person. It can be also a trust. And the foundation is founded for the benefit of beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are persons who would have benefits from the foundation. They should be physical persons, and the founder of the foundation is also allowed to be a beneficiary. There can be different classes of the beneficiaries. So, for example, beneficiaries can be all grandchildren of the founder, which can be before any grandchildren are born. So we can construct the structure of beneficiaries with different groups and say that beneficiaries of the foundation will be grandchildren, but before the grandchildren are born, beneficiaries of the foundation will be children of the founder or even founder himself, not to change, the list of the beneficiaries of the later stages if the person knows already which groups he or she would want to be assets distributed to and in what way. And there is third party, it's an administrator of the foundation, who can be also a physical person or legal person. And administrator can be one or couple of administrators, and they're responsible for maintaining possession and control of the property of the foundation. They safeguard property, they ensure the compliance with the statute of the foundation or the deed of the foundation, and compliance with the current laws. Administrators need to be licensed entity in Malta, and they need to be able to provide fiduciary services. So this is a three obligatory party of the foundation. Additionally, foundation can have protector or protectors, multiple, who can be also physical or legal person, and maybe the same person as entity, or entity as a founder, or maybe the same person as a beneficiary. Protector has a right in general to be consulted before some certain actions by the administrator are taken, and protector may have a veto right. So basically all the rights of the protector are subject to the terms of the foundation deed. In most cases, people who decide to have protector in their private foundation structure, they would nominate trusted person of the founder to be protector, and it will be the person who will take care and monitor the implementation of the foundation deed. There is also supervisory council. It's not essential, and it's more applicable to the purpose or charitable foundation than to the private foundations, because supervisory council is required more in the foundations where a lot of administrative work. So this is about the parties. Maltese private foundations are regulated by the second schedule to the Civil Code of the Laws of Malta. New legislation has introduced registration as a requisite to obtain recognition of separate legal personality, whilst at the same time ensuring the safeguard and privacy of private foundations. Foundation can only be constituted by the virtue of the public deed, inter vivos, drawn up by the notary public, or constituted by the means of a will. And once the foundation is constituted, it is registered with the Malta Register of Legal Persons. A foundation can be set up through an endowment of money or property, which was minimum 1,165 euros. This is a legal requirement, and it can be done by the payment in, let's say, in cash of those money, like to make a transfer, or through the appropriation of assets itself, with a minimum value of 1,165 euros. Private foundation is limited by the time to a maximum period of 100 years of existence. The persons or class of persons who are entitled to benefit must be clearly indicated. So administrators would know who are beneficiaries and what are the arrangements. The founder or any other person permitted by the statute may amend or add to the purpose of the foundation after it was set up. So there's still the way of transforming or changing your foundation as times or wishes can change. Of course, you need to establish such way of amendments. A very interesting feature of Maltese foundations is that it is lawful to establish segregated cells within a foundation, and this is done to achieve particular purposes with particular assets. The segregated cell will not have separate legal personality. However, the assets and liabilities of the particular cell constitute a distinct patrimony, distinct from other assets and liabilities of the foundation or other cells. In terms of Maltese legislation, it is also possible to redomicile a foundation into Malta and out of Malta. What is important probably to say that a foundation may be terminated earlier and actually at any time if all the beneficiaries demand so, or some condition happened that were indicated in the deed where the beneficiaries can terminate existence of the foundation, or founder is still alive, he changes his mind and he wants to terminate foundation. It's also possible. It's just important to write it in the deed. And this is it about setup and requirements for the setup of Malta Foundation. I will move forward, but of course, if you have any questions, please write them. I see that they're already popping out.
Hi, Maria. Yeah, I've seen some of the questions, so maybe I could read them out for you.
Great.
So the first ones we've been getting are in relation to redomiciliation. Now, you just mentioned that it is possible to redomicile into and from Malta. Have you seen this happening much in practice? And what jurisdictions do you generally see being involved if it is happening at all?
So there is a legal possibility to redomicile from Malta and to Malta. If you ask me about redomiciliation from Malta to some other countries, of course, there should be such possibility in the country that we want to redomicile. So it should be jurisdiction where private foundations exist and where the local regulator permits to do so. So if that country where we want to redomicile to permit us to be redomiciled from Malta or from other jurisdictions. And of course, I will tell you, why would you want to redomicile somewhere else from Malta? But you can redomicile to Malta. It's a pretty new legislation. I wouldn't tell you exactly, but it exists since around 1 year, a year and a half. I know that there already first redomiciliations happened. There are not a lot of them because, as for now, there are only EU countries where you can redomicile from to Malta. Legislator left some possibility to amend this list with the further notice of the minister, if I'm not mistaken, responsible for the justice. But that list, as far as I know, from only EU countries wasn't amended yet. So maybe in the future there will be possibility to redomicile to Malta from other jurisdictions, but for now we have only possibility from other EU countries.
Okay. You mentioned a number of the positive attributes that Maltese foundations have. Are there any that you think are unique to Malta, or any you'd like to emphasize, which might be different than those available in foundations in other domiciles?
About uniqueness, I wouldn't say that it's like unique, but the positive sides of being, choosing Malta as a jurisdiction for the private foundation is the fact that Malta is a member of European Union. We have English official language, so it makes easier communication with the registrar, with administrator, within any tax, within assets management. So language makes it easier. Malta as a jurisdiction itself is a very business friendly, so it's easy to reach any like regulator, administrators. So it's very easy to administer, and it's easy with the relations with founders, beneficiaries, and administrators. Geographical position also counts, because I believe that founder or beneficiaries might want to come and meet administrators personally. It's easy to do because Malta is located in a good geographical position in the middle of Mediterranean and in the middle of Europe, south middle, I would say. So basically, this is the advantages.
Okay. And in relation to costs, maybe you could give us some details, ballpark figures again, on the costs of setting up and then running a foundation.
I can, I don't know who this question came from. I'll be happy after the presentation and after our workshop, send the proposal. It's difficult to say because there is like some minimum costs which will round up to, let's say, 10k euro, but it all depends how many founders we have, how many beneficiaries we have, what the assets, what are the relations, because setup is like a technical setup is one thing, but when you need to do an advisory, proper structuring, that costs be different from case to case.
Okay. Just a final question then before we move on. Maybe you could talk about the relationship between the banks and private foundations. Is it easy to access banking facilities for foundations? Are international banks willing to work with Maltese foundations in your experience, or is it a very niche area? Maybe you could just expand on that.
Good question, thank you. I think banking is getting difficult for any type of relations in general in the world. I wouldn't say Europe, outside Europe, type of jurisdictions, etc. Of course, it's getting more difficult, but in the same time, I would say first, it is possible to open bank accounts. Of course, everything depends on the structure, what is in the structure, what are assets, etc., etc. What is important to say that Malta Foundation can be, let's say, looked through vehicle. So it holds assets. So it's not always necessarily need to have bank account. It also depends on the structure. So in some cases, it can avoid for some time or even for some longer period of time to be without bank account, because it's not trading operational entity.